Okay, welcome everybody to the October 15th, 2025 regularly scheduled meeting of the Town of Eastham Planning Board. This meeting will be video recorded and broadcast over local channel 8 and through the town's website at www.eastham-ma.gov. I have to ask, is anybody recording in the audience? Audio or visual? Nope. Okay. We have a light agenda tonight, so lucky first applicant. I will call case number PB 2025-11 for 3 Linwood Trace, as shown on map 14, parcel 83B. David V. Daigle and Jill L. Howard Daigle, applicants, seek site plan approval residential pursuant to Eastham zoning bylaws, section 7.4.4, residential lot intensity, and section 10.3, site plan approval residential to construct a new dwelling on a lot containing 20,000 square feet or more where the site coverage exceeds 3,000 square feet. Good evening.
Good evening. For the record, I'm Marion Rose from Singer & Singer and Dennisport. Glad to be with you all tonight.
Good.
I'm here as well with Jill Howard and David Daigle, the owners of the property, and Peter McDonald to my side, who's familiar to you all, and also Teresa Sprague, who did the landscaping plans for both the Conservation Commission application and for the rest of the property that wasn't part of that jurisdiction. She's here to speak if you have any questions about the landscape plan. And as you can see, John O'Reilly is on Zoom. He drafted the site plan and also took this project before the Conservation Commission and also the Board of Health. And both of those applications are complete and reviewed and approved. So this is a first build on a vacant lot, 3 Linwood Trace. This is a property that the applicants have owned since way back in 1998. They've had the intention of building here for quite some time and have the ability to build here now. They actually have a smaller house on Samoset, so they are for quite a long time. So they're familiar with this part of Eastham, and Jill is familiar with this from childhood days as she spent summers here. This property is in the residential zone A, and we are asking for a special permit, as you said, for site plan review for a project where the site coverage is over 3,000 square feet. It is 4,475 square feet or 10.76% site coverage as proposed, or 4,573 square feet or 11% site coverage is allowable by special permit. I want to direct you, I think you all have a paper packet of everything I submitted.
We do.
Great. And so there's a site plan that John prepared, and I'll go over it. I'll skip briefly over, there's an existing conditions plan, which is not so interesting when there's nothing on the site. But we'll go right to the proposed condition site plan. And John has kindly shown a building envelope. Want to confirm that this, as it should be, footprint is well within the building envelope. The closest it comes to a sight line or a sideline is 32 feet on the right. It's 37.3 feet on the left. The front setback is as closest, it's 56.6, and to the cul-de-sac, it's over 100 feet. This is kind of an unusual property. It's not totally unique for Eastham, but it is a property that's on a private road, off of a private road that's off of a public road. So it's Clark's Point to Linwood Trace, and Clark's Point is off of Samoset. As you can see from this site plan, the proposed condition site plan, the location of the footprint is central to the property. It's well outside of the 50-foot CONSCOM setback and slightly within the 100-foot Conservation Commission setback and jurisdiction. What you can't see from this, and what I'd like Peter to further describe, is how we'll go to the elevations now. And the elevations that I really want to focus, I'd rather focus on the elevations, which are A4 and A5, to show you how, as Jackie has described this, it's a central two-story structure flanked by single-story Ls. There's a farmer's porch and a breezeway that's connecting to a detached garage. And it's significant that I hope some of you have walked the property or gone out to see it. What I haven't said yet, which is obvious, is it's on Great Pond and there are houses around it. There's a house behind it. In my narrative, I think I had a typo. I called it 8 Linwood Trace. It's actually 8 Clark's Point. But so let's correct that. But that house is built at an angle, and this house is proposed to have a lower, a one-story portion of the house in the area that would be most affect 8 Clark Trace. So it's not bulking up in that area that's very close to 8, that's closer. 8 Clark's Point, sorry. Let's get that right for the record. I'd like to pass this over to Peter now to go into a bit more detail about why he chose to design the house in this way. And
Thank you.
got it?
So this house is fairly typical in that it's wood shingles. We're using fairly traditional looking windows with traditional grills. We try to break up the mass a little bit by using porches and dormers and different roof setups. Like a lot of the houses I do, I try to have a lower part of the house to the side, so it helps tie it to the land a little bit better, I think. And I think the character and scale is appropriate to the neighborhood and to the town and to the size of the lot.
I'd like to pick back up again and just emphasize that I'd mentioned before that the Board of Health has reviewed this. There's an IA system that's going to be installed here, so we've checked that box. We are also conforming as to height, as well as setbacks. In terms of the lighting, there was a question. We've submitted a tear sheet on the lighting design. That's the lighting that is going to be used throughout on the exterior of the building. There are not any other kinds of types of lighting that's going to be used. That's it. So I don't think we need to supplement for that. In terms of landscape design, Teresa Sprague is here. She's here to answer any questions you may have, but Jackie really did summarize much of what she's done. Her plan's been approved to the extent that it needs to be by the Conservation Commission, and you all have a supplemental landscape plan that deals with the front yard. This area it's naturalized. And this is it's not intended to be a site where there's a proper Connecticut lawn. This is really a Cape Cod lawn. And there are native plantings. They're not, giant strands of lines of arborvitae separating the rest of this property from other properties. It's more of a gentle approach and we believe appropriate approach with native species. We have more than 50% native species. And we're here to answer any questions that you may have about that. Before closing, I did want to show you or point you to an exhibit that I submitted with the application. It goes to appropriateness and goes to massing. It's this colored thing here. Certainly, of course. We've got all the time in the world tonight.
This one. I know.
Oh, you got it.
Right.
Okay.
I just.
Yeah, you need it.
Absolutely. There is a lot of paper. Absolutely. So As Jackie said in her staff notes, this is a larger proposed building, but it is, we believe, appropriate for the neighborhood. There's a consideration that Eastham has of net livable area. It's not something that we had to show you all here. But if you compare it to, if I'm looking at staff notes number 3, based on the proposed floor plans, the estimated NLA of the dwelling is 3,899 square feet. If you look to the right at the Nickerson property, which is 4 Linwood Trace, it's
Bless you.
3,497 square feet, which we believe is pretty comparable. And if you look at this colored exhibit, you can see 4 Linwood Trace. It also, as you can see, has a garage. If you look to 660 Samoset, which is close by and facing Great Pond as this one is, it has a garage and I believe a covered walkway between the garage and the house. Some of these homes are 2 stories, as it's 700 Samoset Road with a covered porch as this property has. And so we believe that this is also because it is screened from other properties and on the private street, connecting a private street to the public way. We believe that the massing is proper and appropriate here. To that point, it's great if I say it, but it's also great if neighbors say it. And so I want to point you to 2 letters. We have 4 letters of support, but 2 letters are from immediate abutters. There's one from 8 Clark's Point, which is the house slightly, it's the house behind this house on Clark Road and Clark's Point. And 4 Linwood Trace also is writing in support. So to my mind, they're the parties that would have a significant interest in what happens on this vacant land, and they are supportive. We'd welcome any questions that you might have. John's raring to go. A question there, but we're all here in some form and ready to answer questions.
Okay. First, I'd like to compliment you on your submission.
Thank you.
I think it's very thorough and complete, and I'm pleased to receive it. We could start with individual board members, if you wish, right?
Yeah, I concur with the chairman that this is very thorough and absolutely complete. Also, I'm impressed by the neighbors' support for it. Can you answer a question? Whose dock is that? Because I walked down there and I walked into the water and I saw there was all kinds of, freshwater mussels. And you're not gonna, I realize that you're not gonna, but you could impact that area. But whose dock is that? Because it seems to be a well-worn path.
I believe the owners,
The dock is on our property.
Yeah.
It was installed by Al Nickerson when he developed the land, because there's an easement that addresses the Bergen.
Easement,
Which is
yep.
Our house, and then there's another block.
Another one,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's a well-maintained dock as well. I don't have any other questions or concerns at this time.
Okay. Dave?
Once again, I'll compliment you on the stuff that you gave us. It's very complete and thorough. I'm almost surprised at the neighbors. I mean, this is a big house and there's nothing there it's going to sit right there and the neighbors are going to look in and these guys are going to look over at the neighbors and there's no brush, there's no nothing. And you're not going to put up any kind of privacy kind of things. So it's just going to be, everybody's going to see into everybody's yard.
I think that's the intent. Yes.
Okay. I guess that's all.
Okay. Michelle?
Yeah, so thank you. Again, it's very colorful and very thorough. all the way through, right? But it is helpful to go down there. So I guess I have a question, just a qualitative question. Are you planning to live there? I know you have another property. Yes? Okay. Because it's a big property. And then many of the letters came in kind of this week and the same, and I'm not sure if they were solicited, if you asked them to do that, which is fine either way. But I do have a question about 12 Clarks Point Road, and we didn't receive which is the one, right to the other side. Is there any?
We haven't heard from them
Have
in
not
any
heard
way.
from-
I mean,
Okay.
they received the butters notice, but
Okay, and then my last question really is about the massing, and I know you did speak to that. And I appreciate, when there's a breezeway area, that it's open and there's pillars and you can see through and all that stuff. But was there any consideration given to, instead of one big straight, to make an L or anything like that to sort of minimize, the massing perception, if you will? I mean, I don't know if there were other considerations given, if you want to answer.
We were the law constrained us a lot because,
No pun intended.
no pun intended, because conservation wanted us as far back from the water as we could get. And, there's a fair amount of house and the sideline setbacks are set and we can't do much about that. We looked at different arrangements, but this was the one that seemed to work out the best.
Okay,
Because of the shape of the lot and the setback from conservation, we were fairly constrained.
okay, thanks. No further questions.
Okay, we have a new member tonight on our board. Welcome. And since one board member, an alternate, regular member isn't here, you are certainly, actually two aren't here. You are on this case. So welcome. I don't know if it's too early to ask you questions or you have any concerns, but you're welcome to pass for now. Okay, Pat.
So again, thank you for the thoroughness of this. This is great. I walked down there and I was surprised when I saw it. Just, it's closer to those other houses than one would think from sort of the diagrams. And I'm wondering, one of the staff recommendations was trying to mitigate the massing, and I wondered what your reaction and your thought process was there, because it is a big house and it's flat there. And even though your neighbors think it's wonderful, when we look at neighborhood characteristics, we just wonder how this new property fits in with Eastham overall. So talk
Well-
about that.
Well, I never try to make anything bigger than it needs to be. We have a program from the client and they want certain rooms and spaces and bedrooms and bathrooms, and that's what people today are asking for. So we try to design a house that has the things that they want, but we also try to design it so it doesn't look like a big giant plot box. I just would point out, again, there's the closest public way is Samoset, so there's no way from any public way that you can see this house. So it's not gonna be anybody's face. And I've done houses that are a lot more noticeable than this one. But my philosophy is always the same. I'm not trying to make anything bigger than it has to be, because I'm gonna come to you and you're gonna tell me it's way too big if it looks ridiculous. And I live in this town too. I want to be proud of the houses that I design. So I have to look at them as well.
So with the staff recommendation for the massing, did you take a look at that, at
Well,
the breezeway?
I saw they said something about the breezeway. It's a breezeway you can see through. I don't really know that, and I guess you can tell me how much that affects this mass of the project.
I asked if I can join in. Functionally, having that covered breezeway from the garage, we'd ask you to consider it because it really does help in living, like in this past weekend, to have a cupboard that you can drive into your garage and be, covered to an extent as you're trying to get your groceries into the kitchen. It seems like a small thing, but it's a meaningful thing to have that be a covered walkway. And it's not closed in. That was the thought process. It wasn't closed in. It's open to the elements, but it's covered. And that is super significant for how they're going to use the property. It is a 4-bedroom house. It's not a 6-bedroom house. A lot of the space is open, and they're really trying to design a house that has a view of Great Pond, but they're not cutting down trees all over the place it's going to be a graduated view to Great Pond. They're trying to be sensitive to the site.
Thank you. When I was looking at this last night, I resisted turning into an architect, because that's what you are.
I sometimes resist too.
But anyway, thank you. for your
Sure.
comments.
Okay. My opinion is that the breezeway is an asset. Because to be able to break up the wall and see through, I find it helps limit the massing. Because if the garage were moved to the left, and for example, the breezeway taken out, then there's more massing together than having the breezeway. So I actually support and I like your idea of the columns and seeing through, because when you come up to the house, that breaks up your eye and it shows you could literally see through it. So I don't have a problem with the breezeway in the roof. Is there anybody in the audience that want to speak to this application? Is there anybody online that would like to speak? Okay, this is rather unusual. We do have letters in support, even though this is going to be right, as pointed out by other board members, right in the view of the neighbors, and they seem to support your application, which is unusual. I see no reason that we can't move on this application tonight. So having said that, there's a couple of steps here. The first one is to determine the findings of fact. Findings of fact relate to the site plan approval prior to the issuance of site plan approval. So we have the following proposed findings of fact. Number one. Oh, do we want to read through these? Are we in this?
You are not making any changes. You're not obligated to read through them. They're in the packet.
Standard.
The report was also provided to the applicant's representative.
What we've done when their standard conditions is we've said the findings of facts are according to the standard findings of facts. If there's no objection from the applicant, we could refer to it that way. Otherwise, we can read everything. It's up to.
No objection.
Okay. All right. So is there a motion to approve for case number PB 2025-11, the standard findings of fact?
Mr. Chairman, I have
Yes.
one edit. There's on number 11.
Yep.
It says one letter in support was.
Now we have
received.
4.
We have
Yeah.
4.
Good
So we'll
point.
update that in the decision letter to 4 and to 5 parties of interest
Okay.
Right.
present.
Great.
Okay.
So now.
I second the motion.
Well, no, you first did it.
Right.
You'll do
With
first.
that adjustment, I motion to approve.
You second it. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Brian,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Patricia,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Okay. Next step is the one you really want. Okay, is there a motion? I think I will read these just because it seems to make more sense on actual standard conditions. Is there a motion to approve residential site plan approval for case number PB 2025-11, subject to the following conditions? Number 1, no building permit shall be issued until the application complies with all pertinent sections of the Town of East End bylaw. Number 2, all exterior light fixtures shall be down shielded with fully enclosed fixture to reduce light spill and nuisances to adjacent properties. Number 3, the applicant shall verify the final bedroom count, septic design for adequacy with the approved plan with the Eastham Department of Health, and if necessary, which it is, obtain Board of Health approval prior to the issuance of a building permit. Number 4, the applicant is responsible for providing building plans to the Eastham Building and Fire Departments. Plans shall contain information on construction methods and materials sufficient for a full code compliance review. Plan reviews conducted by town staff as part of site plan approval have been conducted for conformance with applicable sections of the zoning bylaw and for adequacy for the site for public safety and environmental impacts. Additional plan review for health and safety code compliance will be required and may result in changes to the approved plans. Any changes to the site plan and/or building plans as approved in the case, including number A, existing and proposed site plans stamped by John M. O'Reilly, surveyor and engineer, dated 7/24/2025. B, site and sewage disposal design stamped by John M. O'Reilly, surveyor and engineer, dated 6/18/2025. C, proposed floor plans and elevations sheets A1 through 5 by Peter McDonald, architect. Progress prints dated 8/12/2025. D, land management plan dated 5/20/2025 by Blue Fax Design LLC. E, mitigation and planting plan by Blue Fax Design LLC dated 5/20/2025 and revised, I guess, and the other ones are dated 9/24/2025. F, outdoor lighting specification sheet for seated, does that say seated? Okay, seated glass LED outdoor wall lights by Hinckley Lighting dated 9/2/25. And those referenced in the planning board decision letter, except those that are deemed de minimis, must be reviewed by the planning board. If the planning board finds the change to be substantial, a notice is necessary for a new hearing. Number 5, the applicant owner shall maintain the existing perimeter vegetation in accordance with zoning bylaw section 7.2.6 perimeter vegetation. An area not less than 6 feet in width measured from perpendicular to the lot line around the perimeter of the lot shall be maintained with trees, shrubs, or other plants in order to keep or create a naturalized buffer between properties. Portions of this area may be paved for pedestrian or vehicle access, but at no time shall the pedestrian or vehicle access be located within 6 feet of the side property lines. 6, landscaping within the 6-foot property perimeter may be undertaken at any point in the future per zoning bylaw section 10.1.6 perimeter vegetation. Clear cutting of vegetation with within the 6-foot perimeter vegetation setback where removal of vegetation is not subject to any other regulatory review may be approved by the planning board or its designee without a public hearing, provided that the abutters sharing the common lot line have been notified of the proposed site work no less than 14 days prior to the date of approval, and no abutter has requested a public hearing. In making its determination, the planning board or its designee shall utilize applicable sections of the zoning and bylaw section 10 site plan approval. Number 7, the applicant shall file the site plan approval decision letter with the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds and provide a copy to the building department prior to the issuance of the building permit. Number 8, any changes to the final grade must be approved by the planning board. Number 9, the planning board reserves the right to monitor the ongoing construction for compliance with the approved plans. Is there a motion to grant residential site plan approval for case number PB 2025-11, subject to the conditions read?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Brian? Dave?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Now you're done.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I gotta find my agenda. Here it is. I got it. Okay, we, on case number PB 2025-09, which you're not going to sit on because you weren't part of the original. They have asked for continuation in order to supply additional information because we asked them to, and they said they were coming back. They have asked for continuation to November 19th. So is there a motion to approve the request for continuation from the applicant for case number PB 2025-09 to our regularly scheduled meeting on November 19th, 2025? Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
There you go. All in favor, Brian?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Stephen? Patricia?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay. Let's turn it over to you. Because we were talking about having some of these groups that are studying zoning bylaws in this town. I feel kind of we're left out, and I'd like them to present to this board, even in progress, things that are going on, so that we're not caught at the end just catching up. I'd like to be informed as we go along. So, and Michelle has thought that would be a good idea, and we were originally shooting for tonight's meeting, but we didn't get it, so you're gonna go home early. But it could happen at the next meeting. But now I'll turn it over to Jack.
Okay. Yeah, so on that, we will work on scheduling both strategic planning update and then a zoning task force update. I don't think that you need a formal presentation from those chairs.
No.
You have your liaisons and they can let you know sort of what's going on by then. So that will be great. We did want to update you on a previous case, PB 202506, 420 Meeting House Road, which you completed in July, was appealed by an abutter that has gone through the appeals process with the Zoning Board of Appeals. They met on October 2nd, and they have upheld your decision in the case with one additional finding and one additional condition related to the site plan. And so that decision letter will actually get filed tomorrow. And that sort of closes that. If that aggrieved party, if the property owner, if any other aggrieved party chooses to appeal the ZBA case, so it would no longer be appealing the planning board, it would be appealing the ZBA decision. That actually is directed to a court of competent jurisdiction, meaning the state and not us.
Right.
So we'll keep you updated if anything else does happen on that. We don't see frequent appeals of your decisions. But, you know, in this case we did, and just because this question came up earlier, you know, effectively it's, as Paul says, it's a do-over. So the ZBA acts as another round of site plan review. They go through the same criteria from 10.3 in the case of residential that you all go through. There's a new staff report, there's a new application from the aggrieved party, the appellant. I'm sort of presenting it from their perspective. There's more site visits. So it really starts the process over again. But in this case, they've agreed with you and upheld your decision, asking at the appellant's request for some additional details on the site plan having to do with those, I don't know if you remember those big retaining walls that were there. So that one is moving forward.
Yeah, so for the benefit of the board, Dan and I asked that where there are appeals, that we are informed of what the adjudication is on those,
So
which is good good feedback for us.
when the letter, so a letter, is this right? A letter will come out from the ZBA
Yes.
tomorrow?
Yes, so their decision letter gets filed at the town clerk's office. And you may not know this, this is sort of the back end when you make a decision. We then put it into the form of a decision letter. It within 14 days has to be filed at the town clerk's office, and there it sits in purgatory waiting to see if there's an appeal. When it is a site plan approval like tonight's, it is a 10-day appeal window. On a special permit, it is a 20-day appeal window. If any aggrieved party chooses to appeal that decision, they file that with the town clerk. And then they have to go through, they fill out a whole new application for the zoning board of appeals, and they hear the case.
So if we want to see that letter, the ZBA letter,
Mhm.
that's with the town clerk?
Yes, but I can provide it to you as well.
I mean, I would think we could get it online.
No, we don't actually post them online.
Okay.
But you know, you are board members, so happy to send you a copy. It goes into public
And
record.
then if it's appeal, you said it goes to the state, where does it go to in the state?
Well, that's the
Michigan.
interesting thing here. Anybody can appeal the zoning board. Now they're not appealing the planning board, they're appealing the
Right.
zoning board that supported us. It will go to court.
Or-
That's decided by the state. However, every case we've ever had against us that I've ever had knowledge of, when it goes to the state, they always remand it back to the original board to see if they can work these things out.
But it would, you know, so if they filed an appeal, they'd be using an attorney. And it would go to land court, which I don't know if that these days, if gets over to Orleans District, if it has to go up to Barnstable. But it does put them sort of outside of our local remedies for at least a time. So,
And it is possible
it is possible.
that the board members will get sued. But the town will take care of
We won't even go.
it.
Don't even need.
Don't even mention that, but technically,
you-
you are supported by the town legal system. The town attorney will handle any and all of that.
And just to be clear, when we say that it's going to court, that's not a lawsuit against you. That is just they're appealing and they've
Right.
hit a point at which we no
Right.
longer have a local.
Other
remedy
people
for
get
it.
to
So
take
that really
at
has
it
nothing to do
again.
with the
Right.
board.
Right.
It's just the next step in the process.
We got sued, what, 4 years ago?
Right, so it,
Some-
but Dan, that, you know, that you bring it up, it's part of what it is why it's really important that as you communicate your decisions on record, that those decisions adhere to the bylaws and the criteria that are laid out in your section,
Sure.
which typically is 10.3. If
Right.
it was commercial, it'd be 10.2. You know, that's your lane. Those are your criteria. If you stay within them,
You'll be
all
fine.
you're good to go. So, if there are any other updates on that, we'll let you know. But, the other, you know, thing that can happen, and again, is outside of you, but, it is possible that someone can appeal a building permit itself. So they can appeal the building commissioner's issuance of a building permit. And that actually goes directly into the court system. So
Good.
that can happen on anything, whether it went to planning or not.
Right. Good. So we have some
Minutes.
interesting things coming up, but before that, let's do the minutes. We have the minutes of September 17th, 2025. Any corrections, alterations, suggestions, or improvements? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes of September 17th, 2025 as written?
So moved.
Second, I'll second it. All in favor? I mean, just say aye on the minutes. Okay. So board members, knowing that we're going to have some presentations coming up from strategic planning and else, start thinking about what questions you might have and what suggestions you might have. I hate to be in the dark. I don't want our board members not to have an opportunity to comment and to suggest before it's in final version. That's my goal, is that we participate and help them create the document that's going to be helpful for everybody. So I would
We can-
appreciate it.
You know, my suggestion to those two other committees would be to focus on presenting, you know, especially from the zoning task force, or what are the items that we are looking at on the task force. We don't necessarily need to debate those items here, but if there are items that Pat's going to explain from the ZTF, or that Michelle's going to explain from the strategic plan committee, that you feel you'd like to take a deeper dive into, we can talk about scheduling a joint board workshop. Like if you were here last January, we did that workshop across boards. I think that was really helpful. It gave people, you know, that time to really dig into it. So the zoning task force is not the ZBA, ZTF, ZBA. The zoning task force is appointed by the select board. And they are then directed by the select board, sort of what areas of the bylaws may need a closer look. may need revision, and really that has to connect to the strategic plan. So if there are areas that we're finding conflict, sometimes it's little things. It's, hey, the definition of gross floor area and net livable area is leaving people confused. Let's see how we can clean that up. And sometimes it's, bigger things like last year when we rewrote the entirety of
Right.
the ECSD, 65 pages or less. So I think that to me sounds like the right, I don't know.
Right.
We can talk about that next
Yep.
week at task force
Yeah.
too. And then we can set aside sort of a working workshop time if that
Great,
feels needed.
Very good.
perfect.
Okay.
Does anybody have an objection with going home? A motion to adjourn? So moved.
Second.
Yay,
All
all
in
in
favor,
favor.
yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
Jackie, appreciate your prep for this.
yep, they're very good.